So in March, the Chancellor Rishi Sunak stood up in Parliament and outlined what the budget for 2021-22 looked like in a post-COVID-19 society, and also how much COVID-19 had cost us last year. The numbers are, of course, eye-watering. They are very big, and for most of us, we can't imagine numbers with that number of zeros in it. While we're not out of the woods yet, we are 3 months further down the line than when Rishi Sunak stood up and outlined his spending plans and how he was going to put the economy right post-COVID-19. The key question was, what did this budget actually hold for the UK private sector landlord? It's at this point I mention how you might help the channel get recognised by YouTube by subscribing, hitting the bell icon to be notified when videos hit the channel, hit the thumbs up if you like the contents of the video, and please leave comments down below. It's always interesting to hear what you guys feel and how you perceive the private sector landlord industry. Now back to this video. So the first thing to note from the Chancellor's speech was the stamp duty holiday. Initially, as part of the COVID measures, the stamp duty holiday had been put into the budget and had basically been run out to the 31st of March 2021. In the budget, the Chancellor announced that that effectively was going to run out to the 30th of June at 500,000. So 0 to 500,000 carried a nil rate stamp duty threshold. From the 30th of June to the 30th of September, it halves, so it's 250,000, 0 to 250,000 nil threshold, and then it reverts back to what it was pre-COVID-19, which was 125,000. So that's 0% on nil to 125,000, which is all well and good, unless you are a first-time buyer, in which case you got an extra bonus there, which was you could actually have a nil rate and up to 300,000. So what has that done? Well, effectively it's meant that buying a property is cheaper. So if you're a landlord and you were looking to buy probably not flats, but probably more sort of higher end properties, small houses, starter homes, flats in prestigious locations, that sort of thing, you could buy those and you didn't have to pay stamp duty. You would still have to pay the 3% if you were buying it in your own name, but if you were buying it through some sort of limited vehicle, or when I say a limited vehicle, I mean a company, then you wouldn't have to pay that. But that was reality. That's what the change in legislation was. And if you've managed to buy property within the last year, well done. You've probably managed to save yourself quite a considerable amount of money, especially as you move towards the £500,000 bracket. The issue has been that during COVID, the services you need to buy a property have been achingly slow. And I mean achingly slow. I know people who have been trying to buy property and it's taken them 6 months from the point they figuratively shook hands on the deal to the point they completed on the deal, a minimum of 6 months. That's because solicitors are working from home, mortgage companies are working from home, they're changing the rules about how they're giving mortgages, so it's just elongated the process. But if you've managed to buy a property during that period of time, well done. What we've seen is mortgage companies have been effectively reporting that they are seeing increases in the mortgage lending. In fact, they said that the mortgage lending in May was pre-COVID-19 levels. And the number of deals being done and recorded at the land registry was also approaching those sort of levels. The problem is, because you lost the stamp duty on those properties between 0 and 500,000, the prices have gone up. So what they're saying at the moment is house price growth has also been shooting up over the coming last few months. And I will do another video on this because I think this is an artificial market. It's been created by the fact that there is a stamp duty holiday, and effectively what vendors have been doing is putting their prices up because theoretically you can afford more because there's no stamp duty. But from a private sector landlord or a investing perspective, it has been a bonanza if you've managed to strike the right deal. So that's about it from property specific measures in the budget. That was it. There was nothing else. Really, there was nothing else in the budget for an investor investing in the housing stock in the UK, which I find scandalous. I've always found it scandalous, but I still find it scandalous. But that was it. That was the budget. Boom, done. So as I said, that's pretty much it from a property angle. That's all you got. So as I said, from a property angle, that's pretty much all you got. Stamp duty, nothing else. But if you invest in property through your own personal vehicle, as in it's in your name, the bands at which you pay 20 and 40% will not be adjusted. And that those band rates, those margins where you skip from one tax rate to the next tax rate, are going to be pretty much frozen until 2026. That basically means that if you grow your rental portfolio or you grow your rents in line with market expectations, more of your income is going to start to trip into the higher rates of income tax. So just be aware of that when you're looking at your portfolio, that you may end up paying 40% tax, whereas previously you weren't. However, I suspect that if you are sort of on those margins up in the sort of high 30-ish £1,000 worth of profit, you're probably already going to be starting into that 40% band because of what the Chancellor has done with the mortgage interest rate relief. I still do not understand how the government do not believe that being a private sector landlord is not running a business, and therefore you should be afforded the same reliefs that somebody running a business. If you borrow money to run a business, you get relief against the interest. If you're a landlord and you borrow money to run a business, which being a landlord is, you don't get the same level of interest. And I believe that is wrong. I've always believed it's wrong, but that is currently how the tax system is set up. So you probably are already in that 40% bracket. So more of your income is going to head into that 40% bracket through the freeze in personal tax rates. So let's cover off a couple of areas that have come from the corporate. What do I mean by corporate? I mean running your landlording business through a limited company. Now, what's really interesting about this is that following the raid by George Osborne on the private sector landlord environment, a number of property investors have chosen to move their portfolios into a limited company vehicle. And I should state that mortgage interest relief is not the only reason why you might consider doing this, and you should take proper legal advice. Okay, so don't just think you need to do that for that particular reason. There are many reasons to incorporate your portfolio. Now, currently, company profits are taxed at a flat rate 19%. And it's going to stay like that until 2023, so basically 2 years. So if you've incorporated your portfolio, the tax on the profits you'll pay is 19%, and you get full relief for mortgage interest, which is, as I said, one of the main reasons why a lot of people have chosen to go down this road. At this point, the first 50,000 profits remains at 50,000. So from 2023, first 50,000 of your limited company profits will remain at 19%. And then there will be a tapered rate between 50 and 250,000. And then above 250,000, the corporation tax rate goes up to 25%. Now, I come from an accountancy background. I think I said that in the channel intro. And I know that operating tapering corporation tax rates means effectively the profits that fall within the taper, you actually pay more on a pound per pound basis. You pay more than you would if it just literally went from one to another to another. It's a horrible way to implement this using a taper. But the bottom line is that if your strategy was to incorporate and take advantage of the 19% corporation tax rate as it currently stands, and then draw dividends from the company that attract a personal higher rate taxation rate of 32%, it might be worth seeking advice to ensure that when the taper comes in and the profits start getting taxed at higher rates, you should still be within a limited company vehicle. I think that's a very important point, especially if you're making a decent amount of money off your property portfolio. So just beware, corporation tax rates are set to rise, predominantly to plug the COVID-19 spending gap. And the final tax that is probably worth looking at when a budget is announced is capital gains tax. And effectively, for those who don't understand capital gains, it's a very simple tax. Basically, it's a tax on the profit you've made between what you bought the property for and what you sold the property for. And the taxman has their slug. And for this year, as it stands, there has been no changes to those rates. So if you're planning on divesting of property in your investment portfolio, it's probably not a bad idea to think about trying to achieve it between 21 and 22, as in this tax year. We don't know, and the Chancellor has given no indication about what's going to happen in future years, although many were speculating that capital gains tax may have gone up in this budget, so it's possible it's going to go up in the next. I'm hoping that 3 months in, that quick rundown of what was going on in the budget that was released in March has helped you clarify some of your thinking if you were going to do something. Remember, anything I've said in this video does not constitute advice. For that, you need to go and talk to a proper financial advisor or a mortgage advisor or somebody who is qualified in the field that you're looking at. But if it has given you some help, that's what this video was designed to do. But for now, bye-bye.